Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Monday, June 30th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Faith leaders from across the country join Bishop William Barber today for Moral Monday, D.C., a national movement uniting against what they call an immoral budget that Republicans are poised to support on Capitol Hill. We broadcast that event live. We'll show you some of what took place. A marathon vote continues in the United States Senate. Marathon discussion, actually, continues in the United States Senate over the massive Megabill. Trump calls a big, beautiful bill. Others call a big, ugly bill. We'll show you some of what the conversations were on the floor of the United States Senate. The vote should start around 1 a.m. Trump folks, they're going after sanctuary cities, specifically Los Angeles, alleging that it is obstructing immigration enforcement. They're suing them. Also, with less than 5 months before Miami's mayoral and city commission elections, well, the city commission voted to postpone the vote until 2026. Really? We also, of course, on verdict watch in the Sean Diddy Combs trial, plus R&B legend Calvin Yarbrough, one half of the iconic duo Yarbrough and Peoples, has passed away. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin. Rolling with Roland now.
Folks, this morning in Washington, D.C., faith leaders from across the country marched to the Supreme Court and the Capitol for Immoral Monday. All right, folks. All right, folks, so let's start over, okay? Earlier today, in the nation's capital, a number of faith leaders and their supporters marched from a church in D.C. to the Supreme Court, where they held their own hearing as it related to what they call the immoral budget happening in Washington, D.C. It was led by Bishop William Barber, Repairs of the Breach, and the Poor People's Campaign. They have been blasting this budget that the House has passed, the Senate had an initial vote on, and final debate continues. And the movement calls on people of conscience to unite in sacred outrage and demand justice, truth, and transformative change. Volunteers, clergy, and concerned citizens are speaking out against all policies they deem immoral and deadly. Marchers arrived carrying symbolic coffins representing the lives they believe could be lost if the proposed federal big budget bill, which Trump calls it, others they call it a big ugly bill, if it is passed and signed into law. During today's event, they broke down the immoral budget, but not before Bishop Barber explained why they are protesting this bill.
What we said, we don't come to get arrested, but we will arrest the attention of the nation.
All right. Yeah.
And this is a time that we all have to stand together. I want to be very straight and clear and move forward. We're going to have John to come, first of all, and give us the numbers from IPS, and then we're going to put a face on the numbers. We're going to put a face on the numbers. But for the millions of you that are out there, and the reason you need to be wearing these phones out and calling these senators and House members and pushing hard and whatever they do, we're going to have to keep working, is because, first of all, the scripture says, if my people will call by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek God's face, and God's face is a face of justice, a face of mercy, and a face of love. And then it says, and turn from their wicked ways. God says, I'll heal the land. Mm-hmm. Today, I don't feel like pulling any punches. We are facing wickedness.
Yes.
There's something wicked. When you have power of a congressman, a House member, or a senator, and all you can do is think about how to get up in the morning and hurt as many people as you can. There's something wicked about that. There's something wrong, some evil when you've got power and you've got free health care simply because you got elected to office, but then you want to block the people from having health care. And worse than that, you want to take away the health care they have. It's one thing if folk didn't ever have it, but have it and then take it away. There's a level of wickedness and wrong and injustice. I want to quote Tom Tillis. Wait a minute before you clap. I want to quote Tom Tillis because last night, finally, he said, my party is making a big mistake. No, they're not making a mistake. This is deliberate.
Yes, wow.
This is not a mistake. This is policy violence. This is policy murder. That's why we brought these caskets today. Because in the first year of this bill as it is, the estimates are that 51,000 people will die. In other words, you know that. And if you know that and still pass it, that's not a mistake.
Yes.
It's not a mistake. If my people call by my name, will pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. It took us nearly 60 years to get to this form of health care anyway.
Yes.
Theodore Roosevelt was talking about it in the 1900s. And then you had another senator, what's his name? He's from Kansas. And he voted for the debate, but then he said he had a lot of disagreement. Let me have my son. Son, you can take that from over me. Let me have this son. Vitamin D, good for me. He said that he voted, a lot of bad things in the bill, but he voted for it, listen to this, because he got some things delayed. And I wanted to say, what the hell is wrong with you? You going to want to delay the pain? Good? To delay? If you get a 6 months and delay people getting hurt, or a year delay, what you want to do is delay it till you're not in office so you can't be here anymore. This mic keeps going out. I need a battery. Delay. It's shameful. It's mean. It's unconstitutional. It's morally indefensible. The scriptures say it's wicked. Not just William Barber or the Moral Monday. The scriptures say that anytime, Mike, give me some more. Anytime persons will legislate evil, that's how the scriptures describe it, and make women and children pray, P-R-E-Y. And whenever you make somebody pray, P-R-E-Y, that means you're going after their life.
Right.
But the reason it's wicked, and come on, John, and evil and mean and bad is because it's all rooted in money and the love of money. And somebody knows that I heard somebody just say, the love of money is the root of all evil. And we're here today not just to protest what's wrong, but to demonstrate for what's right. We shouldn't be having a debate over how to take people's health care. We should be having a debate over how to give people more health care. That should be the issue. I don't need it. We should be debating that. And there's something wrong in this country where we are now. And it's not everybody. It's MAGA. It's Trump, it's Johnson. It's Hume. For the love of money, sometimes I want to ask, what does Trump have on y'all? Did he have some cameras on you or something in the hotel? What does he have on you that will make you go after and hurt this many people? And so, my brothers and sisters, that's why we stand, that's why we demonstrate, that's why we protest. And to the media, stop repeating, some of you aren't, but some of you, Trump's talking points. The reason he calls press conferences in the middle of the day is because anytime the news is talking about what's really going on, he'll call a press conference to distract. And stop calling his bill his name. It's not a big, beautiful, ugly bill. It's a big, ugly, damnable, dangerous, deadly, destructive bill. We need some truth-telling. So John from IPS, come on and tell us some truth. And you know, at our rallies, we have the politicians to come to listen so that when they go back to the floor, they carry the people with them. And so, James, we thank you and others who've come to listen today. But here we go. John, tell us, first of all, the top 10 things that are bad about this bill, because it's more than just the Medicaid. And then talk to us about the deadliest part of what's going on, and then we're going to put a face on these numbers.
Thank you, Bishop Barber. Thank you, Congressman Raskin and others who are here who will bring this message back to the Capitol. I'm John Cavanagh from the Institute for Policy Studies, and it's been an honor for us to work with Bishop Barber and Repairs of the Breach and the powerful moral groups assembled here this morning to expose to the American people the immoral budget moving through the U.S. Senate right now. This morning, we release a crucial update on our joint report, The High Moral Stakes of Budget Reconciliation, and we're also releasing new state-by-state data on how many people are projected to lose their Medicaid and SNAP through this budget. And our analysis concludes that Senator Bernie Sanders was correct last night on the Senate floor when he called the proposed budget the most dangerous piece of legislation in the modern history of this country. Our IPS and repairers research concludes that no single act of Congress has ever added more to the U.S. deficit and to the violent income and wealth inequality that threatens our democracy.
That's right.
So I'm going to say just a few cruel facts that the research shows. One, a health and hospital apocalypse. At least 16 million Americans would lose health insurance. That amounts to 14 poor and low-wealth people for every millionaire household that would receive a tax cut. Shame. Take the state of New Mexico, where over a third of the inhabitants, a total of 714,000 people, are on Medicaid, and over 117,000 people are projected to lose it. Shame. In New York State, over 1 million people are projected to lose Medicaid. And I ask you all to look at these documents. The figures are on the coffins. North, south, east, west, over 16 million people affected by this. Tell your congresspeople, tell your senators. Then, research, and Bishop Barber just referred to this, from Yale and UPenn, have estimated that these cuts would result in more than 51,000 preventable deaths per year. That is 1,000 deaths for each of the coffins that are here today. And this is not just policy violence, it is policy murder.
That's right.
Yeah. What is it? Policy murder. Yeah. Two, on climate. As you know, storms, heat, and diseases related to climate change are killing tens of thousands and creating millions of climate refugees. Well, the Senate bill now includes more than $1 billion in new tax breaks and subsidies for the fossil fuel industry. Shame, on top of existing subsidies that will accelerate climate change while costing taxpayers an estimated $17 billion per year. This is policy murder. What is it? Policy murder. Three, hundreds of billions of dollars more for the war budget and the deportation budgets.
That's right.
This bill will add roughly $120 billion to the war budget, which eats up more than half of the total discretionary budget of this nation. And it adds roughly $150 billion to cruelly arrest, detain, and deport immigrants. Shame. These expenditures will enrich the CEOs of the military contractors and private prisons while killing thousands more in U.S. wars and inhumane detention facilities. This is policy murder.
Policy murder.
Policy murder. So I bring you to these documents.
That's right.
Use them. There's two of them up on the two new ones up on the repairers website, the IPS website, the state-by-state breakdown, going through each of the different areas in the budget. But we want to end, repairers, IPS, the rest of us, by saying that it is within our power as a nation to end this policy murder on the most vulnerable. Yes. By fairly taxing the wealthy and giant military and fossil fuel corporations, reducing our bloated military budget, and demilitarizing immigration policy, we could free up more than enough public funds to ensure that we can all survive and thrive. So today we urge you all, as you call your congresspeople, to join this moral fusion movement to force our elected officials to end this budget and to pass a moral budget.
Thank you, John. And John, I want you to read at least 5 of the southern states, because down south, where 1/3 of all poor people live, these senators come up here and say that they're doing what's right, by their people, and they phrase this stuff in coded race language. But the people that's going to be killed, they won't be killed by race, they'll be killed by death and policy murder. But just share with us, like Texas and Georgia and North Carolina. I want y'all to hear these numbers. And South Carolina, Lindsey Graham is leading this. But what is Lindsey doing? What does he talk about the number of people?
Okay, Georgia, 84,000 people expected to lose Medicaid, 440,000 expected to lose SNAP benefits. Moving down to South Carolina, well, let's start first with, I told you, New Mexico. New Mexico has the highest percentage of people on Medicaid, on SNAP. South Carolina, 48,000 expected to lose Medicaid, 143,000 expected to lose SNAP benefits. Texas, 303,000 expected to lose Medicaid, 806,000 expected to lose SNAP benefits. And in the great state of West Virginia, it's not in the South, but it's represented here by Pam Garrison and others, 75,000 expected to lose Medicaid, 84,000 expected to lose SNAP benefits. This is policy murder.
Policy murder. And you'll never hear us at Immoral Monday criticize people on their personal failings, personal failures, because everybody has those. But what we are here in the public square is to criticize those who are using their public office to destroy people's lives. We're here for life. Healthcare is life. Standing against war and violence is life. Fully funding public education is life. Living wages is life. We are not here as a coalition of death. That's what we see going on with this murder and killing, and we're sending, and not only every time they say we don't have the money, it's not a lie, it's a damn lie. That's what it really is. It's a damnable lie. And we have to call it out for what it is now.
All right, folks, to give you a couple of things. First of all, you see the box next to me. So what they're doing is, for earlier days, Senator Chuck Schumer, the Democrats, actually overnight, forced them to read every single word of the 900-plus page bill. No Republicans were in the chamber. Now they're voting on different amendments. So, for instance, they earlier rejected a measure that would have kicked undocumented workers off of Medicaid. That actually failed in the vote. So that's what happened there. So we're monitoring these various actions in the United States Senate. Now, after they had the speeches there at in front of the Supreme Court, the plan of action was for the folks to move from there to then go to the plaza in front of the U.S. Capitol to pray. Well, what happened was they were actually stopped by U.S. Capitol Police. They closed off the plaza. Now, mind you, people were walking on it. It was open, and all of a sudden, they shut it down to prevent them from actually praying. Listen.
They restricted it today? You heard that. They just restricted it today. They don't even want to see the truth. That's why we got to keep throwing it at them. That's why we got to have media here to tell it. Look at all the people going. They're not restricted. We're just going to pray. So,
Before we're down to the back ranks. Back ranks, are we down?
No, he said we couldn't.
He just told me he couldn't.
Where?
This guy right here. Come talk to him.
We were really preferring the pursuit right here. That we could get to the second bike rack where see where the people are walking.
The second bike rack?
Yeah. You could, but correct. Yeah, this would be preferred.
Well, They can't see us.
They can't.
Folk in there. We want them to see us.
They can see you, sir.
If 2 people and then I'm going up there, you'll be all right. It's gonna be all right.
I'm sorry?
If 2 people go up there, it'll be all right. I got you. Thank you, officer. So technically, we can go up to the 2nd place. But the reason we're not doing that is because we're in the street to say we can't go down this road.
That's right.
We cannot keep going down this road as a nation. So it's time to pray. I want to let you all begin praying from my right as we begin now. Go take it down.
Yep.
There we go. Ready?
Prayer for the city of the everybody spirit of all breath. We gather today remembering that everybody is sacred. Black, brown, undocumented, disabled, housed or unhoused. This budget forgets that truth. But we remember. We remember that 13.7 million people may lose health insurance. We will not let policy silence the dignity you placed in each of us. This is not governance. It is policy murder.
All right, let's everybody read together.
Policy murder for the poor, not the powerful. A holy one who sides with the lowly. This death-dealing budget gives billions to the wealthy while stripping 375,000 North Carolinians of food assistance. We pray not for riches, but for righteousness.
You're in violation of DC 23.
Back it up.
I need you not coming back in. I need y'all to stay behind me.
It is not a budget. It is a blueprint for death. We rebuke it in the name of love.
Prayer for the incarcerated in discarded jobs was increasing injustice. This often bears the name of my son, my sister, my neighbor, for the high cost of a 15-minute call, for the cell that still pages their future. We carry this casket because we refuse to forget, because you have not forgotten them.
Get on the sidewalk. Get on the sidewalk.
I'm sorry.
Everyone needs to get pushed back to the sidewalk.
They told me to back up.
We're gonna push them up on the sidewalk. I need y'all on the sidewalk. Take everything to the sidewalk. Y'all are gonna have to all scoot back, sir. Everyone needs to be on the sidewalk. Please, all the way on the sidewalk. Y'all are gonna have to push each other back. I need everyone, ma'am, I need you on the sidewalk. I need you on the sidewalk, please. Sir, please back up, please.
The main thing is not taking this. You can't take this sidewalk. It's dangerous.
Stay on the sidewalk, please, sir.
children. We grieve that never should happen.
Now, folks, while that was happening outside the U.S. Capitol, another group of folks from repairers of the breach actually went into the Capitol Rotunda to pray where, yep, they were also arrested. Yes, for praying. Watch.
God, we are gathered beneath this dome of political power to pray that your mercy, which sustains us, will prevail to save us from an immoral budget that will destroy millions of lives.
We have also read the budget resolution of this Congress, which calls for $1.5 trillion in cuts to life-saving and life-sustaining programs in order to give a tax break to billionaires.
When we hear the Speaker of this House parrot a regime he aims to please by calling this ugly and immoral budget one big, beautiful bill, we recall the prophet Isaiah's woe against those who call what is good evil and what is evil good.
All of our religious traditions affirm care for the sick and the dying, but this budget proposes an $880 billion cut to Medicaid, which could result in 36 million Americans losing access to health care.
But the proposed budget of this Congress threatens to take SNAP benefits away from tens of millions of our most vulnerable neighbors.
We are also here because we know that you have heard their cries and called us to stand with the downtrodden. And we repent of the ways we've all allowed the language of symbols of our faith to prop up abuses of power.
And we allow people to use your name and your sacred gifts to us as justification for a religious nationalism that has pitted us against one another.
Order our steps, O Lord. Order our steps with your love, your truth, and your justice.
You can soften the hearts of representatives who refuse to hear from their constituents.
Deliver us, Lord, from the deceptive lie that says our nation will be better off if those who have little get less and those who have too much get more. Against the conspiracy and cruelty, we plead the power of your mercy.
You're unlawfully demonstrating inside the Rotunda building. You need to leave now.
You gotta leave right now. Which way? Here we go. That way. Go. Hey, guys. Gotta go. Man, go.
Come out this way.
Now, folks, a number of folks have been speaking about this particular bill. And again, it narrowly passed on the first vote. One of those folks is North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican. He voted against the bill. Donald Trump then threatened him, saying, he blasted him, saying he was going to find somebody to run against him next year for re-election. Tillis then announced that he was going to retire and not seek re-election. Well, that then caused him to take the muzzle off, and he went after this bill and the impact, especially in Medicaid, on his state. It's amazing how he found courage after he chose not to seek re-election. Just listen to some of what he had to say.
So we had 3 different conference calls with CMS, with us on the phone and on the video, and me on the video. And I said this, guys, I would love nothing more than you to prove me wrong. I would love nothing more for you to tell me it's not $26 billion or $30 billion, that it's $2.6 billion or $2 billion or $200 million. But after 3 different attempts for them to discredit our estimates, the day before yesterday, they admitted that we were right, that between the state-directed payments and the cuts scheduled in this bill, there's a reduction of state-directed payments. And then there's the reduction of the provider tax. They can't find a hole in my estimate. So what they told me is that, yeah, it's rough, but North Carolina's used the system. They're going to have to make it work. All right. So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there anymore, guys? In the White House, senators advising the president are not telling him that the effect of this bill is to break a promise. And you know the last time I saw a promise broken around health care, with respect to my friends on the other side of the aisle, it's when somebody said, if you like your health care, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. We found out that wasn't true. That made me the second Republican Speaker of the House since the Civil War, ladies and gentlemen, because we betrayed the promise to the American people. 2 years later, 3 years later, it actually made me a U.S. Senator, because in 2010, it had just been proposed. And just anticipation of what was going to happen was enough to have a sea change election that swept Republicans into the majority for the second time in 100 years. Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs. Now, those amateurs that are advising him, not Dr. Oz, I'm talking about White House healthcare experts, refuse to tell him that those instructions that were to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse all of a sudden eliminates a government program that's called the provider tax. We have morphed a legal construct that admittedly has been abused and should be eliminated into waste, fraud, and abuse. Money laundering. Read the code. Look at how long it's been there. I was Speaker of the House. I refused to do it. When I left North Carolina, I said, we're not going to do a provider tax. I left it at 2.5%. Now it's 6%. Mistake on the part of the leadership. And frankly, I know my friends are probably going to think I'm a little bit crazy here, but I actually passed a law that made it illegal to expand Medicaid. Why did I do that? Because I was convinced someday we would be here. And I would have rather found a way to get more people on Medicaid at the standard FMAP than having this 90-10 match and watching it disappear and taking away desperately needed health care.
Wow. Courage. Boy, it would have been great if he said all of that before announcing his retirement. Now, after today's march, I got a chance to chat with Bishop William Barber to explain exactly why they are advocating in the way that they are.
Watchers who don't understand what just happened here, they would not let y'all go into the plaza to pray.
No. So we started out, we couldn't pray in the rotunda. So last week, they told us we couldn't pray even in the plaza. Now, they've had people pray in both places, but they weren't praying about injustice. They were praying about their own, MAGA. So this week, all of a sudden, all those fences went up.
Right.
And that had to come from the orders upstairs.
Well, first of all, he was saying you couldn't go on, but there were people who literally were walking on the plaza all day, all morning.
Right, it was restricted. But he said you can't go on it with your caskets. And if we went across the police line, there would be a different set of charges. And we're not going to let them set the people up like that. So we said, okay, what we're going to do is go in the street to say, we don't need to go down this road. But they are afraid of prayer and justice being hooked together. Because, we're not praying, we're protesting.
Unless you are
over there,
MAGA right wing.
Oh, yeah, you can pray and shout and run and have a dance if you want to. But you look at the number of people that testifies today, we had about 12 times more people this time than the last time. The count I got was we had over 1 million people cross-posting and out there. So we just got to keep the pressure up. And I say, no matter what happens to this bill, we got to keep people angry and focused and clear so we can mobilize all those folk when it comes time to get these folk out of office.
That was a Fox News poll where almost 60% of the people were against this bill.
That's right.
That's their poll.
That's their poll. And so my thing is, you do this to 16 million people, that's 16 million people we can get to fight. And it is going to be a political fight. People have said different times elections are the most important. This election has got to be the most important because it says whether America will stand for this or whether we're not.
What do you make of your home state senator getting some courage now that he's not running for re-election?
Yeah, ain't that some strange courage? You get the courage, hold that down, when you're not running for re-election. I wish he had...
All of a sudden, he's speaking truth.
Yeah, I wish...
Come around here. Reverend Barber about to sit down.
Well, you know, it was partial truth because that's my car. It was partial truth. Yeah, it was partial truth because he wanted to go back to the House bill. But the truth, I want to see him. I wish he had stood and voted and got some of his other people.
Right.
I'm glad he did what he did, but why quit?
Right.
My thing is, what does Trump have on you? If it's that bad.
It's like when Jeff Flake quit in Arizona.
Yeah.
When, I forgot the guy in Tennessee quit. They were all afraid to oppose him.
All afraid. I mean, what does this man have on you? And so Tom Tillis, but Tom Tillis was the one that passed the bad voting laws in North Carolina.
Yeah, voter suppression bill.
I'm glad that he spoke up, but I wish he would stay and fight and get some redemption for all the other stuff he's done.
Because he's there until in 26.
26. So fight, man. But it's gonna be a ride in North Carolina next year.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna see some new things happen.
We'll be there.
Thank you for coming,
Bishop,
Roland.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Folks, we had the opportunity to catch up with some folks who were at today's march to share their thoughts on why it was important for them to step out and protest. He was a man from, so let's go ahead and roll that.
What brings you here today? Why was this important to you to come and protest?
It was important to me because I felt like they're not giving a voice to the people to give us a chance to speak out against the big, beautiful bill, as it's called. I don't think that they're putting out all the facts. All the people that will be impacted will lose Medicaid and Medicare, lose access to SNAP, the extra eligibility and the hoops that they'll have to go through to receive those benefits. I don't think that they're giving out all the facts to the people. They're trying to make it sound like it is a big, beautiful bill, and it's really not. It's going to cause a lot of death and a lot more poverty, separate the wealth gap, or increase the wealth gap, and just give more tax benefits to the rich.
If you don't mind me asking, is there any, with the Medicaid, Medicare tax being cut in the big, beautiful bill, is there, any story or anything you want to share with us that affects you or anyone that you know of, and even people that you've either met here in the protest or you personally?
Absolutely. I have plenty of friends and family who are on Medicaid and Medicare. I know several people that are close to me that still depend upon WIC and food stamps and SNAP. And so again, all that stuff being cut, I have a big concern for them and how they'll be able to continue living.
Folks, there's so much to unpack that is in this particular bill. It is an absolute giveaway to rich folks in corporate America. It screws low-income poor people. And all of these so-called evangelicals on the right, they are loving it. And it's really shameful. And so there's a furious effort on the part of Democrats to flip a couple of Republicans to vote against this and kill this bill. Joining us now, Dr. Ome Congo Dabinga, Senior Professorial Lecturer, School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racism, out of D.C. Dr. Larry J. Walker, Associate Professor, University of Central Florida, out of Orlando. Michael Imhotep, host, African History Network show out of Detroit. Glad to have all three of you here. Larry, I'm going to start with you. The thing here is we saw what happened over the weekend. Deals were cut with people like Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski that would do various carve-outs for her particular state. Well, the Senate parliamentarian overruled those, saying those cannot be used when it comes to reconciliation. For folks who don't understand the Senate rules, by reconciliation, they could pass it with a simple majority and it not require a 60-vote threshold. So that's why they're using the reconciliation way. So that's out of the window. So what are you going to do, Lisa Murkowski? Senator Susan Collins, she voted for this. Of course, we know Senator Tom Tillis voted against it. Senator Rand Paul voted against it. He was blasting it, saying it was going to massively raise the federal deficit, and that's what Republicans were always crowing about. So hypocrites abound.
So it's interesting, Roland. This bill and debate has really reflected my time on Capitol Hill, where Republicans were fiscal hawks, right? Remember all that talk over the last several decades about, being responsible stewards. So we know that the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, has said that this bill will add over $3 trillion to the deficit, and obviously not even talking about the economic healthcare impact in terms of more than 11 million people being kicked off of the healthcare, whether it's through the Affordable Care Act and various other mechanisms. So this bill is going to have a tremendous, and not in a good way, impact on the U.S. economy, particularly the lives of everyday citizens. The other thing that we're not talking enough about, Roland, is the impact this is going to have on the ability for lower income, middle class kids going off to college. It lowers Pell Grants. It also makes it more difficult for people to take out student loans, plus loans. I believe it eliminates plus loans, et cetera, and doesn't give you a pathway to have your loans forgiven. This is going to impact in terms of individuals who are going to want to be dentists or physicians, et cetera. So the implications of this bill are far-reaching, and there are a lot of Americans who are sleepwalking through this. And by the time they look up over the next 2 to 3 years, it may not necessarily impact you, but it's going to devastate family and friends and other members of your community. And this wide-ranging bill it's just a travesty. In all my years working on Capitol Hill and following politics, I've never seen a bill like this with such a massive wealth transfer from low to moderate income families to wealthy families.
I mean, what we hear people say, what they're saying is that flat out that this could be the biggest wealth transfer in American history. That's what we constantly are hearing on Makongo.
Yeah, and it's happening right in front of all of our faces. And the fact of the matter is, you spent this whole segment showing what Reverend Barber is doing, and others. We talk about this every day, and all of us here are damn near 24-hour consumers of news. We haven't seen this anywhere. A study came out today that showed, like on Fox News, the ratio of them on Fox, I'm sorry, because it's not news, the ratio of them mentioning Medicaid versus mentioning Biden is 10-1. They mention Biden more than they do Medicaid. So the people who are watching that, so many people out there don't even know about this bill, and some who know about the bill don't even know about Medicaid being in it. And so the messaging has been very problematic. Democrats have gotten a lot better on the messaging on this particular issue, but people need to be, these senators, these politicians, these Democrats, they need to be out there with Moral Mondays. They need to be out here, talking about this every day. They need to be bigging up this platform because when we're talking about this wealth transfer, I'm just tired of seeing so many issues in this country, and I know we'll talk more about them tonight, immigration and other stuff. People not feeling like something's going to bother them because they feel like it doesn't affect them. This is going to affect you. Oh, I got private insurance. It's not going to affect you. You think it's not going to affect you when more people are looking for, the fewer doctors that are available, or people are flooding the hospitals or flooding the network? We can go down the list of how many things that are going to affect people who think this bill won't affect them. But it's not going to happen unless we have more people like you, Roland Martin, like Reverend Barber, who are out there telling the truth. And I applaud not only Reverend Barber, but all of the people of all backgrounds, religious, racial, cultural, gender, who are showing up with him and taking this message back to their communities. Because this is going to pass, Roland. It's going to pass. The Supreme Court and these Republican politicians have not stopped Trump on anything. They've slowed him down here and there, but they are going to give in, and we have to prepare for it.
Michael, the Louisiana healthcare system is trying to let House Speaker Mike Johnson know this is an awful, awful bill. They dropped a statement. This is literally the entire Louisiana healthcare system. You see all of these logos here, where it says, on behalf of Louisiana's hospitals and largest healthcare systems, we come together as stewards of our community's health and well-being. Together, we are unified in our concern over the proposed cuts to Medicaid that are being debated in Congress. These cuts will be historic in their devastation and warrant our shared advocacy to protect our patients and the care we provide them at our hospitals and clinics. They lay out that the steep cuts will force consolidation of services, staffing reductions and closures, reducing healthcare access to everyone in our communities. Our rural communities will especially feel the impact, as many of these hospitals are already in difficult financial situations and are likely to experience a significant reduction of services. The potential impact will be felt by everyone in the state. Now, that's just the healthcare workers. You also have electrical workers, some 800,000 electrical workers, many of them who voted for Trump. They drafted this here. IBEW International President Kenneth Cooper said this budget reconciliation bill is a direct attack on working families, shoveling tax breaks to the rich while turning his back on the people who power this country. The IBEW strongly opposes any proposal that guts infrastructure investment, especially plans like this one that sacrifice existing economic development while providing no clear benefit to working Americans. At a time when we should be investing in energy independence at home, this bill forces our economy to rely on foreign adversaries while dramatically increasing energy bills for every household and draining local communities of the jobs they rely on. What they're talking about right here, all of those green economy, green jobs that are being slashed, they are gutting electric vehicles, tax breaks for solar, things along those lines. IBEW says, make no mistake, this bill will cost hundreds of thousands of good-paying construction jobs, billions of work hours, and hundreds of billions in lost wages and economic benefits to America's middle class. I'm sure a lot of those white electrical workers who voted for Trump are now kicking themselves in the butt, Michael. We tried to tell you.
Absolutely, we tried to tell you, and the urban area, the rural areas are going to be hurt even more by this bill. Like Louisiana, okay, they voted for Trump, former Confederate state. When we look at Medicaid, for instance, the bill is estimated to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid by 2034. Okay. Now, it's also important to understand that there's about 72 million people in America on Medicaid. 20% of them are Black. Okay. 20% of them are African Americans. When we look at, you're going to have cuts to SNAP. Okay. SNAP food assistance. Also, as Reverend William Barber correctly stated, is estimated that 50,000 people are going to die per year because healthcare is going to be taken away from them. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, estimates that 11.8 million people will lose healthcare over, by 2034. So this is horrific. I call it the big ass ugly bill. Okay, this is horrific. This shows the consequences of elections. But the other thing is, Roland, so this is the fiscal year budget. Have you heard anything about stimulus checks that some Black people said they were voting for Trump for? I haven't heard anything about stimulus checks, because I saw interviews with idiotic Black people saying that they were voting for Trump again because they wanted stimulus checks. There's nothing in here about that. But what's in here is going to devastate the African American community, but devastate America as a whole. We tried to tell you.
We did. Also, let me go at the building trade unions. They also have come out against this bill as well. North America's Building Trades Union. This is from Sean McGarvey. The revised Senate draft released late last night is a massive insult to the working men and women of North America's building trades unions and all construction workers. This is not what they voted for. If enacted, this stands to be the biggest job-killing bill in the history of this country. Simply put, it is the equivalent of terminating more than 1,000 Keystone XL pipeline projects. In some cases, it worsens the already harmful trajectory of the House-passed language, threatening an estimated 1.75 million construction jobs and over 3 billion work hours, which translates to $148 billion in lost annual wages and benefits. These are staggering and unfathomable job loss numbers, and the bill throws yet another lifeline and competitive advantage to China in the race for global energy dominance. Our 3 million members are ready, willing, and able to build this country into the world's undisputed energy superpower, but this bill takes their jobs away and undermines that mission. Well, guess what, Larry? said, this is not what we voted for. This is what you voted for. I don't know what the hell all these people keep saying. It is what you voted for. Now they are seeing the reality of what we kept saying and what was going to happen if Donald Trump got back into the Oval Office.
Yeah, so people voted in November. They thought bad for you and not for me.
Yep.
But they weren't listening or either misinformed. But we all have to pay the toll now. Everyone's going to have to pay the toll. And you know, Roland, interesting about all this, we all talk about what the federal government has done in dramatically pulling back funding from various health indices in terms of research, et cetera. I don't think people realize we're not headed for a recession. We're headed for a depression in a couple of years, because what you have is literally, we're not even talking about all the federal workers that lost jobs, but you're talking about tens of thousands of jobs lost in healthcare, higher education, building trades, et cetera, over the next couple of years. You combine that with dismantling the social safety net, and you're talking about tremendous political, economic, social upheaval that people haven't seen in generations. We thought we had it bad during the Bush Jr. administration in terms of those hard economic times. It's going to be far worse. So we're beyond the time of this idea of Republicans being compassionate conservatives. Now it's each your own. And you're right about people who voted, particularly, like I said, the labor unions. The Biden administration saved pensions, and VP Harris was the deciding vote. And unfortunately, many of those individuals who benefited or had family members benefited didn't support her. And once again, in terms of working class labor unions, those well-paying jobs, those jobs are going to disappear. All this green energy jobs, all the infrastructure money that we got from the infrastructure bill to build roadways and highways, et cetera, that money is going to be gone. And then those jobs are going to be gone. People won't have access to health care. They won't be able to get important services in terms of Medicaid. That'll all disappear. So you combine that with a country who is dramatically increasing the funding for ICE, it'll make it literally the largest, in terms of what we do in terms of, policing in the country. It'll make it larger than FBI and some of these other entities we've known for decades. So you combine that with ICE and policing in neighborhoods, and we're seeing right now, that'll only increase. But the response to that will be concerning, as the violence that individuals will respond with when they see individuals in their community they don't have anything to eat.
Well, I don't give a damn what he has to say. I don't believe anything that he says, but guess who's a little perturbed by what's going on here? Oh my God, Elon Musk. So this is what he sent out earlier today. I got a kick out of this. Every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame, and they will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. Well, we tried to tell you too, Elon, and all your entire business is predicated on those clean energy, green bill, tax cuts, and they're all about to go bye-bye. So, Omekongo, FAFO 2025.
FAFO 2025, 2026, 2027. And people need to be really clear. This man only cares about any parts of this bill that are going to affect Tesla and his other projects, period, bottom line. So when people are talking about, even Elon Musk is mad about the debt, like, we're not that stupid over here. We know exactly what he's about. And so I get a little bit annoyed when I see all of these Democrats quoting him, even saying things like, even Elon Musk. I'm agreeing with Elon Musk. The dude has always been shady with everything and only cares about himself. And that's why, but nobody wants to call him out the way we call him out here. And he's going to say something tomorrow or the next week. And then what is it going to be? Is he going to say, I'm going to start funding Democrats' campaigns? Are Democrats going to start taking his money? They're already pushing people aside like Jasmine Crockett and the like. So what the hell are they going to be doing next? I'm afraid about some of these shady alliances that are going to be made. But Elon Musk with the Democratic Party shouldn't be worth a grain of salt. And when he puts out these particular types of comments about, oh, I'm going to make sure people don't get reelected and so on and so forth, he's only going to put people in interest who are going to go there and make sure that his interests are protected, not the interests of the American people. This man has been part and parcel to the destruction of American society through his fake department and through Trump giving him access to pretty much everything. And he's part of our downfall as well. And he can't escape that smoke.
This is a piece that was written in May, and it says the headline is 10 sneaky sleeper provisions in Trump's big, beautiful bill. It said yet more horrors are hidden in the fine print. And when they went into it, crippling courts. The bill will actually prohibit any funds from being used to carry out court orders holding executive branch officials in contempt. So they want to gut the power of the federal courts. Bonus for tax prep industry. Of course, they want to get rid of e-file and they want to whack e-file, which is available to taxpayers in 25 states because the tax prep industry hated losing billions of dollars. Guess what? They said the bill adds $45 billion to build immigration jails. They're going to spend, Samuel Singawe posted this, they're going to spend more money in this bill than was spent in the 1994 crime bill. Y'all better recognize what's going on. They are allowing the termination of the tax status of nonprofits if they define them as terrorist supporting organizations. They're going to slap that on everybody. They're going to block states from regulating AI for a 10-year period. So what happened to states' rights? Gutting the estate tax, weakening the child tax credit, expanding school vouchers, again, cuts to Affordable Care Act, and support for gun silencers. So it's so much crap in this bill that it's just insane when you begin to break it down, Michael. And again, folk don't pay any attention and the numbers don't lie. So what should be happening, folks should be blowing up the phones of United States senators saying, you vote for this, especially those red state senators who are up for re-election. We're gonna kick your ass at the ballot box next year.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it was the doctor he just talked about, Dr. Larry, mentioned the pension dollars, the Biden-Harris interjecting $36 billion to save pensions for UAW, for the UAW employees, auto worker employees. It was 350,000 auto employees had their pensions saved because of the Biden-Harris administration. When you deal with some of those things that are hidden in this big ass ugly bill, you're absolutely correct. I've been seeing information about this. One, trying to weaken the courts. This deals with straight out of Project 2025 and the Unitarian executive theory and trying to take more power away from the courts and give it to the president. And then also you talk about the $45 billion to build privatized prisons. People have to understand Core Civic and Geo Group, two of the largest owner-operators of privatized prisons in the country. They supported Trump in 2016, and they supported Trump again in 2024, okay? And you have where some of these migrants are being housed are in privatized prisons owned by these corporations, okay? Now, Donald Trump signed an executive order to unleash the police. We know that his Department of Justice has backed out of consent decrees with the Ferguson Police Department and also in St. Louis, Missouri, things like this. We know, again, they're taking a hands-off approach to policing. So you're going to unleash the police. You're going to build more privatized prisons, okay? And now, who you think they're going to put in there? See, this is an all-out attack on melanated people, and as I said a few days ago on my social media platforms, white supremacy and racism attacks all Black people, regardless of country of origin, regardless of language spoken, regardless of your religion. Okay, so some African Americans, some Black people think it's all right as long as black immigrants are being attacked and locked up. No, they're coming for your ass also. Because a lot of us, you can't tell, for a lot of us, some of us look like we could be immigrants, but to white supremacist, white nationalists and the Trump administration, all black people are immigrants. They don't think any of us belong.
Well, absolutely. And so the reality is, folks, what you are seeing, you're seeing a huge debate that take place in this country. And what we have to understand right now, what's going on here. And if there's one person who, you know what, I'm so sick of. I'm so sick of this man because, frankly, he's lazy as hell. And that's Democratic Senator from Pennsylvania, John Fetterman. Okay? This is literally what let me explain to everybody. This man gets paid to be a United States Senator. He complained earlier this week that they basically dogged him out so much he had to come back and attend committee hearings and do votes that he felt were irrelevant. Now he's whining about what's happening right now with the debate going on. I want y'all to listen to this. Listen to this.
Did you get any clues on the floor about what time this wrap?
Oh my God! I just want to go home. I've missed our entire trip to the beach. My family's going to be back before we on that. So, and again, I'm going to vote no. There's no drama. The votes are going to go. In fact, the only interesting votes are going to be on the margin, whether that's Collins or Johnson and those. But all the Democrats, we all know how that's going to go. And I don't think it's really helpful to put people here till when some ungodly hour. And again,
thank you, sir.
You can't go to the beach with your family. Okay, well, it's the margins. How about you stay there and you work on them, you talk to them, you push them, you prod them. This is just very simple. I mean, I don't really care, Larry. If John Fetterman doesn't want to do the job of United States Senator, then resign. Then resign. And let somebody who actually wants to show up for work. Oh my God, I've already missed my family beach trip. This is just so rad. I don't know what to do. We're just here. It's just wasting time. I just want to go. I just want to go to the beach. Sounds like a spoiled-ass brat.
So, Roland, I have a serious problem. First of all, I'm from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and black folks tried to tell other people in the state of Pennsylvania before the election, and they voted him in, that it was a bad idea. So that's one. Secondly, I got to tell you, Roland, as a former congressional staffer that spent so many hours working on minute language and stuck on weekends working on bills and amendments, I have a problem with someone who's getting paid and is only one of 100 individuals in this country that hold the kind of power he does as a U.S. Senator. So listen, and I have a problem with he's just casual, not only casual appearance, but how casually he just says these things like he doesn't represent the entire state. So listen, he needs to get it together. This is the job. You ran for office, you won a primary, and then you won a general election. And then you're right. If he doesn't want to be a U.S. Senator, he can simply resign and let Shapiro, fill that seat and then set a date for a new election. And the people, my family members, et cetera, deserve someone who's more invested in the state and the needs of Pennsylvanians and Americans overall. But listen, I don't want to hear that. Like I said, there are far too many U.S. senators and us, again, my fellow, staffers who are spending hours working on this bill, working on all the details that don't get to go home, miss birthdays, holidays, et cetera. So he has the power to just chauffeur drop him an hour and a half away from wherever he is in Pennsylvania or Delaware, et cetera, Jersey, to go to the beach. So he needs to get over himself. He needs to do the job of U.S. Senator, what he's getting paid for. And if not, he needs to step aside.
Absolutely. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on
on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Hashtag we try to tell you. Remember when the Trump people were saying, oh no, we're only going after the illegals. Guess what? They now want to go after people who are already U.S. citizens. A new Justice Department memo reveals that federal attorneys have been instructed to prioritize denaturalization cases targeting naturalized citizens accused of offenses such as fraud, national security violations, or even errors on old immigration forms. Folks, we're talking up to 25 million Americans who were born abroad now facing the possibility of losing their citizenship and being deported to wherever. Now, these aren't criminal trials, which means there's no guarantee to a lawyer, and the government doesn't have to meet the same high burden of proof. Now, they're even, I think Carolyn Levitt even made this comment. They even are saying, well, you know what? Hey, I think, and we remember Andy Ogles, congressman from Arizona, that racist. Remember, he tweeted last week that the United States should go after Zoran Mamdani, of course, who was Democratic primary for New York City mayor, and take his citizenship. Hello? Did I not tell y'all in my book, White Fear, what was going on here? That the Great Replacement Theory and all this sort of, didn't I tell y'all what these people, y'all, this is the book. The cover of the book is a photo of a white man on January 6, 2021, and this is me saying, the caption is, all of this is ours. All of this is ours. They cannot stand black or brown people. That's what's going on here. And folks who have been sitting around, I think you're wrong. No, I'm telling y'all, if you want to think the worst of these people, do so. Because that's what they're doing. They are executing a playback that they made clear. And Michael, the leader, Stephen Miller, that virulent white nationalist who's driving this whole strategy.
And Stephen Miller was in Trump's first administration. He's deputy chief of staff again. Stephen Miller he's the one who crafted the attack on the immigrants as well, cracking down on them. The report came out that in May, he told ICE that Homeland Security that they had to increase the number of people arrested to 3,000 per day, something crazy like this. Okay, and what African Americans have to understand is that they're coming for all of us. Okay, and unfortunately, many of us think that our proximity to white supremacy protects us from white supremacy. No, it does not. This is about the fear of the browning of America. And we see this increasing day after day. And then when you read the piece from The Guardian, this is intensifying it. Trump's Justice Department issues directive to strip naturalized Americans of citizenship for criminal offenses. This makes it easier to do this and deport them, send them to prisons to a third country as well. And what happens if you study Nazi Germany? Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, they targeted marginalized groups. They targeted the disabled people. They targeted LGBTQ. They targeted Afro-Germans. You go after small, marginalized groups first and test certain methods out. Then you expand that to other groups. This is what's taking place right now. This is straight out of Project 2025.
Of course, and that's their playbook. That's what they're running. And I'm telling, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing here. That people are not getting. And Bill Moyers just died. Bill Moyers, of course, he worked for President Lyndon Baines Johnson, and he also was a reporter. And Larry, as a result of his work, we now have that quote from LBJ when he talked about the poor, and when he talked about the poor white men. And that quote is important because we're seeing it play out right now. We're seeing how these people think. We're seeing how their brains operate. And what LBJ said was, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. That is what Republicans are executing the strategy. They're executing that right now. And these folks in rural America, y'all about to get screwed.
Yeah, reckoning is coming. And as it relates to that particular quote, you know, there's a lot of talk about Project 2025 written by the Heritage Foundation the last several months leading to election. People, the current president, among other people, denying, no, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Look over here, like the Wizard of Oz, right? Look over here. Why, I distract you with something else that's going over here. And their pockets are about to be picked. You voted for your own destruction, which, is really consistent. We've seen over the last several, decades in terms of voting patterns, particularly for white males. So, but it's one of these situations, and my colleague talked about U.S. history, is that this country has a tendency not to learn from its own mistakes. So let me give you an example. We spend a lot of talk about the 14th Amendment. People forget about Japanese internment camps. And so when we talk about this issue relating to denaturalizations and the essentially kind of erasure of minoritized groups, go to the idea that as long as white males in particular feel like they are, no matter your educational background, et cetera, that they have that, they are better off in some way than you are, then they're fine with that. But they missed the point of when Trump, in terms of how he's filed bankruptcy multiple times, he's not paid laborers in New Jersey and other states over a series of decades. He doesn't care about the average working person. And that's reflected in the policies you see in his reconciliation bill, which will devastate the middle class. If you're a member of the middle class, or particularly if you're from an underserved community, you can forget about it, because once again, this is robbing from the poor, given to the rich. And so many people, and particularly those in white, rural, underserved communities, are going to suffer along the rest of us. And by the time they look up and realize their SNAP benefits are taking, the hospitals are closed, it's going to be too late, because the Republicans are making it clear that this bill is going to, like my colleagues said, this bill is going to become law in some form or fashion. But the bottom line is, it's too late. The die is set, and now we all have to pay.
See, so I want people to understand how the racists think. What did I just say about that LBJ comment? So you take Tommy Tuberville, United States Senator, dumbass former football coach, also, of course, now running for governor. So he goes on this right-wing show, this guy, Benny Johnson. And I want y'all to listen to what he says, but I I want y'all to listen to how the word inner city is being used. Inner city, listen to how it's being used. I wonder who Tommy's talking about when he uses this phrase. Listen.
Yeah, I've spoken several times with Tom Homan, who is basically running the inner city ICE programs. And, he told me, he said he's been pushed at every corner when he goes to these big cities. I'm sure if you get a mayor like this that takes over, it'll even be worse. And that's when you can stop the federal funding. You can do anything. President Trump can do anything he wants when it comes to federal. Again, these inner city rats, they live off the federal government. And that's one reason we're $37 trillion in debt. And it's time that we find these rats and we send them back home that are living off the American taxpayers that are working very hard every week to pay taxes.
Allow me to run that back again.
Yeah, I've spoken several times with Tom Homan, who is basically running the inner city ICE programs. And, he told me, he said he's been pushed at every corner when he goes to these big cities. I'm sure if you get a mayor like this that takes over, it'll even be worse. And that's when you can stop the federal funding. You can do anything. President Trump can do anything he wants when it comes to federal. Again, these inner city rats, they live off the federal government. And that's one reason we're $37 trillion in debt. And it's time that we find these rats and we send them back home that are living off the American taxpayers that are working very hard every week to pay taxes.
Really, Tommy? Tommy, did you just sit here and declare the inner city rats living off of the federal government? Did you just sit here, Tommy, and talk about who's sucking up federal funds? Is that what you just did, Tommy?
Yes, he did.
Tommy, have you ever looked at your state? See, I mean, when somebody says that, when somebody says how you taking money and what you doing, you might want to grab a mirror, Tommy. Do y'all know that one of the most, I'm gonna use Tommy's language, rat-infested states in America is Alabama? Anthony, go to my iPad. Federal transfers to Alabama governments. Now, y'all, this is 2017 to 2022. Will you look at that? You see 2017, slightly higher in 2018, higher in 2019, higher in 2020, higher in 2021, higher in 2022. Wow! Tommy! Your own state sucks up so much federal money. This here, y'all, is from March 10th, 2025, from the Alabama Policy Institute. Headline, Alabama must limit dependence on the federal government. So when you go through this breakdown here, Alabama is consistently ranked as one of the most federally dependent states in the nation. Rats, rural rats. According to data from usaspending.gov, Alabama received over $66 billion in federal funding last year. This includes over $36 billion in direct payments to Alabamians, $17.3 billion in contracts awarded within the state, and nearly $13 billion in grant awards to state agencies. In 2024 alone, grant awards accounted for nearly 32% of all of Alabama's state government revenues. The Alabama Medicaid Agency received more than $6.4 billion from the federal government, with the State Department of Transportation and Department of Education each receiving more than $1.2 billion in federal grants. One problem with being so heavily reliant on the federal government is that state funding may shift. State funding may shift based on the priorities of one presidential administration to another. Moreover, though, there's a perception that federal dollars are free money. They are not. Each dollar that the federal government sends back to state and local governments in the form of direct payments, grants, etc., represent taxpayer dollars that hard-working Alabamians have paid to the Treasury. Federal money also always comes with strings attached. There are several recent examples of this. Tommy, your broke-ass state desperately needs federal money. And you trying to talk about these inner city rats, they sitting here taking federal dollars, the taxpayers, the hard-earned money, and we need to send them back. Well, where we gonna send y'all asses to? Tell me, Tommy. Where we gonna send all them broke-ass white people in Alabama who are mooching off the federal government, Tommy? See, y'all, this is the hypocrisy. Do y'all now understand why I keep saying that Democrats should have the courage to go to the brokest, sickest, whitest, reddest states in America and go there and tell them, y'all are the brokest, sickest, whitest, reddest people in the country, and literally read stuff like this to them? Because see, y'all, here's the problem. Tommy Tuberville, who don't even live in Alabama, his ass live in Florida, that's another story. See, when they recite this stuff, that's right, Tommy, you tell them. You tell them, Tommy. Tommy, you right. All them rats, they sitting here living off our hard-earned dollars. They out there, we busting our butts to pay our taxes. And them inner city rats, them inner city meaning brown, them inner city meaning black, them inner city rats, all they do is take our money. Nope. It's the broke-ass white people in Alabama, in Mississippi, and Tennessee, and Arkansas, and South Carolina, and West Virginia, who've been sucking up federal dollars. But they never seem to call them rats. Do you not hear the coded language in this Omekongo?
I mean, that's why my next book is actually going to be called Trigger Words. And it looks at how these leaders and so-called leaders use language to sow division and keep people at each other, chomping at each other's bits because of this coded language. I hadn't heard this video. And so I thought when it started playing that the only trigger word that you were talking about was going to be inner city. But then he went straight to rats and mentioned it multiple times. And he also gave us something here that the blueprint that, this goes to what I was saying in the last segment, the blueprint that they are using is like, we're using our own streaming networks, our own podcasts, our own, quote, fake news networks like Fox to get the message out. And so he said, Tom Homan is running our inner city program. And that's what all of those guys in rural America are going to be hearing. All of those guys in red states are going to be hearing. They're not going to be hearing the facts that you just laid out, or the fact that states like California and New York basically carry states like Alabama and Mississippi. And they're not going to hear any of that. And this is one of the reasons why in this ugly bill, they're looking at having carve-outs for rural hospitals that are going to close without this particular type of assistance. But those folks out in rural America aren't hearing that as well. The arrogance of this man who built his whole career off of Black players from the inner city to be able to get out there and basically call people in those communities rats, to use these words to help, these trigger words to help build up his own persona and this ugly bill. This should tell everybody everything, but too many people who don't watch people like Tuberville don't know that this language is being put out there so blatantly and so arrogantly and so racistly. And so I'm so glad that you put it out there for us to see, because they've taken everything off. Following Stephen Miller's lead, following Trump's lead, they feel like they can be as racist and ignorant as what they want to be and use as much coded and triggered language as possible. It's all lies, but they feel like it's working to help them with their base, who's about to find out.
You got to be a pretty damn arrogant fool, Larry, to whine about folks spending federal money when your state is the 6th most sucking up state in America.
Well, Roland, it goes to my point earlier when I used the Wizard of Oz as an example. You know, listen, they have created a ecosystem in which they use, racist stereotypes that existed for years and constantly feed people imagery, wording to reinforce these ideas that their parents, grandparents, and now many of these voters believe that they're being robbed of something. But what we're being robbed of is our humanity. That's what's really happening here. And listen, the words he used are not surprising. Because this is the same language that's been used for centuries, particularly when it comes to people of African descent, to dehumanize us. And so when you connect that with the dramatic cut in federal funding, grants, empowering ICE, and we're seeing increasingly in minoritized communities, individuals going to the minoritized community. And now we know Tuberville is running for governor. So he shifted from senator to governor, even though he's not qualified for either. And like you say, he's more of a Florida resident than he's an Alabama resident. But once again, when you got a certain background, those things are ignored. And he can use language like that and not be called out by it. I haven't seen I don't know if any local papers in the state of Alabama have called him out for the explicitly racist language we use. And obviously we're talking about on this platform, but I heard about it before you talked about it. But this should be a national story. But Tuberville doesn't care because he thinks that there's not a price to pay. And I think that's what's really important here. In Alabama has a large Black population, but even with that said, he doesn't think there's a political price to pay, even though he wants to continue he has political aspirations. So the question really is why is Tuberville, people like Tuberville, able to get away with making things like that? What does it mean for America? And also to your point about how Alabama and some other states or Mississippi are far more dependent on the federal government. They take more than they give. What does it mean when this reconciliation bill passes and they find out over the next 2 to 3 years that they don't have the funding that they needed in a lot of programs, universities, et cetera, pay the price?
Well, it's just hilarious to me listening to these fools, how shameful, despicable they are, how they're sitting here talking about federal spending, deficits, who's spending money, when it's these white conservatives who are just sucking up federal money, and they about to learn. If this bill passes, you are about to see some MAGA tears. They're gonna be crying more than all them Latinos, Cubans, Venezuelans who voted for Trump, and now their husbands and wives and cousins and friends are getting deported. This is not what we voted for. Yes, it is.
Yeah, what happened was they just thought other people were going to be hurt. Okay, they didn't care. It's all about the cruelty, but they thought the cruelty was going to be against somebody else. Okay, so what we have to understand is that that's very racist, loaded wording that Tommy Tuberville used, because rats are varmints, and rats and vermins are pests that are undesirable. Okay, they produce rapidly, they damage property, They carry diseases, things of this nature. So now
all the same stuff Trump said about undocumented folk coming in America.
Yep. So now what he's saying is he says Tom Homan, who also wrote part of Project 2025 and is Trump's border czar, he's saying now Tom Homan can go into these inner cities, round these people up, etc., lock them up. Okay, this is the playbook. Now, when you combine that with unleashing the police, okay, I'm telling you right now, you're about to hear stories of Black people who are U.S. citizens who unjustly get arrested because ICE thinks they are undocumented immigrants. Because you have people that live in mixed status homes. Nobody wants to talk about that. You have people who live in mixed status homes where some people are U.S. citizens and other people are documented immigrants. Okay, so this is about to get really ugly. But Alabama has a 15% poverty rate. Okay, and yes, you are correct. They take more in federal funding than they actually contribute in federal taxes, as do a lot of these former Confederate states. Okay, so things are about to get really, really ugly in this country, especially for MAGA, especially for Trump supporters. Hashtag, we tried to tell you.
Well, folks are going to learn. And we come back. Isn't it amazing how these people talk about how we should be changing the rules? Man, if you really want to follow rules, we should be deporting all of Donald Trump's children. Well, except one, the one he don't like, Tiffany. Because her mama and daddy are from here. All right, y'all, we're going to tell you about that when we come back. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Listen, we went out there today. We had 12, we have 12 folks working today covering the Moral Mondays. Folks, that stuff is real. Those are real costs. And so when you support this show with your contributions, you are paying for things along those lines. And so it's critically important because it's not like we're getting resources from millionaires and billionaires. Elon ain't sending no checks here. Oprah ain't sending no checks here. These advertising agencies, they ain't sending no, Jeff Bezos ain't cutting no checks. And so we're making it happen, and your support is crucial to us continuing to do the work that we do. So the goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day to support this show and the additional shows right here on the Black Star Network. If you want to use Cash App, please do so. Use this as a Stripe QR code. Go right here. If you want to support us with checks and money order, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send them to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Back in a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie of A Balanced Life. Think about the men in your life and ask yourself these questions. Who are their male role models? Who can they turn to for advice to learn about what manhood is all about? On our next show, we talk about why male mentoring is so important to men of all ages. Actor Dondre Whitfield leads an all-star cast and panel to answer these and many other probing questions.
A woman can't teach you how to be something that she's not.
That's on the next A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change. The mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. A very different take on Juneteenth with the one and only Dr. Sunyata Ahmed. We'll explore the amazing foods, remedies, and rituals that are a part of our history and the Juneteenth holiday.
So it's our responsibility to return the healthier version to our folks instead of just the red liqueurs marketed to us, the red sodas and the other things. I mean, why does the Kool-Aid man have to sound like Louis Armstrong? He's like, oh yeah!
Oh, yeah, right. An enlightening and tasty hour of the Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, less than 5% of the top executive positions in corporate America are held by women of color. We know it's not because of talent. A recent study says that it's microaggressions, unconscious bias, and limited opportunities being offered to women of color. On our next show, we're going to get incredible advice from Francine Parham, who's recently written a book sharing exactly what you need to do to make it up into the management ranks and get the earnings that you deserve.
I made a point to sit down and I made a point to talk to people. And I made a point to be very purposeful and thought-provoking when I spoke to them.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? Geek Tony in the place to be. Got Kicked Out Your Mama's University, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, an air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Donald Trump loves attacking people who ain't from here and want to send people back. But if we're going to talk about chain migration, shouldn't we be talking about his own damn family? He's called for an end to this decades-old policy, but that means that all your people got to go, including Melania Trump's parents. Yeah, they benefited from the very system he wants to dismantle. So author Don Winslow put together this wonderful video that lays it bare.
Don Winslow explains how it really works.
To end chain migration, ending chain migration, chain migration, chain migration, chain migration.
At the same time Donald Trump was spewing all this hate, he was using a high-powered lawyer and chain migration to bring his wife Melania's mother, father, and sister to the United States where his money bought their citizenship.
Citizenship was just awarded to Victor and my canals.
Here's how it works. At the same time plagiarizing plastic First Lady Melania Trump had kids pulled from their cages for this staged photo op, her family was living lavishly in the United States under permanent resident status. But that's mainly just for rich white people. If you're Mexican, you don't get to live in a fancy New York apartment while you wait. Donald Trump makes you wait in a cage. The world's most successful liar couldn't have his future wife be in the United States illegally, so he spent the big bucks to get Melania an Einstein visa.
Don't you think in any way that it's hypocritical that his wife got to stay in the country with an EB-1 visa, the so-called Einstein visa?
Not at all, Stephen. I know physics.
Now, the EB-1 is reserved for immigrants with extraordinary ability. And when you think of extraordinary ability, you don't exactly think of Melania. But Trump didn't care. He just wanted it done. Meet Michael Wilds, the high-powered lawyer who helped secure U.S. citizenship for Melania Trump and her parents Victor and Amaya Knott, and a green card for her sister Ines. See, when Melania became a citizen in 2006, it gave her the right to sponsor her parents and sisters, hence the name chain migration. Trump destroyed families and sold a closed border policy to his base while using chain migration to bring in his own family. At the same time the Department of Homeland Security were ripping children from their mother's arms and locking them in cages, Melania's family was walking out of court with a personal security escort of Department of Homeland Security officers. Note the patches on the uniform. Donald Trump has one policy for white people and another for brown.
I met with the Border Patrol agents and they're doing a great job.
Okay, stop the music. There are still thousands of children locked up in Trump's border prisons. There are children that have not seen their parents in years. How long can Trump keep them in prison? Do they get out when they're 18? Do they spend their entire childhood in a cage? Do they ever get out? Do they ever get out?
Ain't that something? One rule for them and one rule for everybody else, Larry.
Yeah, people fall for this immigration 42 fake out, right? this idea that you heard the Trump administration talk about we're going off after the people who are criminals and et cetera. And a lot of folks there's some folks that bought into that, and guess what? It was a lie. This what you just showed in the last few minutes highlights how rich people who are primarily white benefit from using immigration to make sure they take care of their own people In the meantime, if you once again, my colleague highlighted some people in these families with mixed, backgrounds as it relates to your immigration status. You may have voted with the idea that they're just going after bad people. We're seeing this in Florida with really hundreds of thousands of people who will likely be deported over the next couple of years, and their family members falling for the idea that, hey, we're only going after the bad people, and we believe in the way the system's supposed to work. No, guess what? You fell for it. Now your grandmother or your father, we've seen a lot of these stories, are now have been or will be deported in the future, and there's nothing to do about it because you voted for this. And so, like I said, what you showed the last few minutes shows the hypocrisy of our system, and also shows that, what was it saying, that cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar bill, y'all. That's how it always works in America. Cream rules, right? So if you have the cash, you can make the dream happen. And this isn't a great example.
Congo.
Look, I think it's also important to pay attention to the hypocrisy of Trump talking about he's getting rid of the worst, but he's actually going after people who are working regular jobs, right? But it just came out today or in the last couple of days that he's actually making deals with MS-13 members and releasing them from prison, some to send to Bukele. And he's also released, according to the DOJ, just released three-time felon Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes from federal prison and transferred him to a halfway house to use him in testimony against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So he's not only not catching the quote-unquote worst people, he's releasing them. So everything he's doing, from the people who have the least influence to the people at the higher levels with the Melania Trumps of the world, it's all hypocrisy. It's all a ruse. And people just don't care, white folks in these rural areas, because he's giving them the red meat that they need, which is the deporting and the grabbing up of brown and black people, now coming for Haitians as well, on the streets. And they got their popcorn out and they're being entertained by that. They're not seeing how he's doing exactly what LBJ said, giving them someone to look down on so to empty their pockets, and their pockets as their love and their influence for this man. It's a complete ruse, a complete hustle, and they are at one point are going to realize that they're being hustled. But right now, he's winning with them, and that's all that matters with him.
Michael.
Yeah, Congo is absolutely correct. New York Times has the story from the day. Trump's task force seeks to drop some MS-13 cases while pursuing Abrego Garcia. And just a few days ago, Representative Jasmine Crockett, a House committee, she brought up the fact that somehow Melania Trump qualifies for an Einstein visa. There's nothing Einstein about Melania Trump. I'm here to tell you. Okay, so we see now, if Donald Trump wants to go after the worst criminals, why did he give a pardon to 1,500 people involved in the January 6th insurrection? Hundreds of them have been convicted or pled guilty. Many of them have felonies, but he said he wants to go after the worst people. But you have people who stormed the Capitol and assaulted over 140 police officers, and you gave them a pardon. Okay, so now this is how corrupt this administration is. This is how evil and corrupt Donald Trump is. So this is why we have to fight this. This is why elections have consequences.
Indeed, and so I just need people just to understand just the reality that we are living in. All right, y'all, quick break. We come back. Fit, Live, Win. Back in a moment.
This week on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
What's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, Folks, June, of course, Black Music Month, also Men's Health Month. Time to focus on the unique challenges men face when it comes to staying healthy physically and mentally, from heart disease to mental wellness. We're talking real strategies to help men live longer, stronger, and more empowerment lives. Dr. Atalia Brown is a board-certified emergency physician, also the force behind Trap Medicine, a game-changing program bringing health and healing to barbershops in our community. Dr. Brown joins us right now. Doc, glad to have you here. So explain Trap. Where did it start and what does it involve?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Barbershop-based health initiatives have been around, honestly, since like the late 70s or the 80s. It's a safe space for Black men, and we can talk about health and wellness in those spaces pretty easily. With Trap Medicine, this is an initiative by my brother, Jamil Lacey, where we go into barbershops and talk about health and wellness, specifically giving them resources, allow them to share their ideas around mental health, and lower that stigma and barrier between healthcare providers and the community.
And so, first of all, how many places are you reaching, and are you having conversations or services being provided as well?
Oh, yes. Typically in the Los Angeles and the Oakland surrounding areas, California specifically. But this model is something that exists in a lot of major cities in America, where we have different groups that are doing barbershop-based health initiatives to specifically reach Black men and boys. This is a group that typically gets overlooked and overshadowed in the healthcare ecosystem. And the potential risks to Black men and boys are significant enough for us to think about outreach in an unconventional fashion.
All right, so what are the biggest things that jump out?
Immediately, high blood pressure. If there's like two Black men standing together, the odds are that one of them has high blood pressure. And this is problematic because it can have effects to all the other organ systems. When we think about cardiovascular health, Black men are at an increased risk of having cardiovascular disease. If I spoke about diabetes, again, Black people in general tend to be more represented in this condition. And Black men, they get diagnosed later. They have worse complications because of it. And all of this can be somehow found in people who come to the barbershop. Our community members know about these conditions. We call it either the sugar or the pressure, but unfortunately, we don't have so many providers who look like those individuals able to reach them and break down some of those barriers. And so I'm constantly in the fight trying to make sure that Black men and Black boys are educated.
All right, so we talk about high blood pressure. So
let's do it.
First of all, define that. What exactly is high blood pressure? What number should we be looking at? What range should we be in? So there's one number. Let's say it's 110/65. What is that first number? What is the second number? And what range should we be talking about?
Yeah, so that you're really actually on point with that. The top number we want to be somewhere around 110, no more than 120, and that's the pressure that it takes to push blood around the body. That bottom number, 65, 70, no more than 80, is the amount of pressure that your body's like essentially fighting against to get the heart filled back up with blood. And the reason why this is important is really high blood pressure. That top number means that blood pressure is skyrocketing into very small vessels, like the ones that give blood supply to the brain. It can lead to strokes. It can lead to heart attacks when those same blood vessels feel like they're pushing plaques and they're blocking vessels that give blood supply to the heart. I just constantly tell brothers, first you have to know your numbers, right? You have to sit down at a pharmacy, a local pharmacy or a convenience store and sit in that machine and see what the numbers are. Give yourself a little bit of grace, because I think that sometimes we get anxious right when we're getting that blood pressure taken, and it might shoot up a little bit. But if it's consistently elevated, like 150s, 160s, this is problematic. And you might need to see a provider to be on medications or consider lifestyle changes, things like active lifestyle, like exercising 3 to 4 times a week for 30 minutes each time, changing your diet. I love fried foods. I had catfish last night. We can't always do these things, and we have to kind of modify the way that we eat. Those habits can lower those numbers as well.
Oh, absolutely. And what's crazy to me is, and I've never understood this here. It is amazing to me, and I've been in places. I remember I was at a bank once, Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas, and they were offering free blood pressure checks, and folks like, nah, I'm good, I'm busy. And I remember when I was at the church, I used to harangue people. I was like, yo, get over here and do this. And like, I'm always getting checks because my average is 110 over 65. And to your point about, your number, so I remember one time I had a sinus infection, and it was like 130. And it was like, hold up, what the hell? No, y'all run that shit back. And it was one of the nurses from Baylor College of Medicine, and that was one of the reasons. And so again, when you are consistently getting your number checked, then if it's 122, 128, I mean, again, probably the highest mine has ever been is about 130, 132 because of that sinus infection that I had. But that's why that's just huge. And so if all of a sudden, if you know what your number is, and then something crazy, you like, hey, hold up, let's run that back, because sometimes the cuff is all kind of different reasons. But it's crazy. But it's crazy to me, and I've stood there, and people will run from it, and I never forget. It was one Sunday. It was a mother. I think she had 2 or 3 kids. And I was just haranguing them. And so they stopped, and the young boy, they literally said, take him to the emergency room right now. It was his number. I was sitting right there. His number was crazy high. Eyes were red. And she's like, well, I'm going to go. I said, no, boo. You need to go to the emergency room right now so they can figure out, why is your son, and this kid wasn't even 10, 12 years old, and that blood pressure number was crazy high. And the people in the nurses ministry, they're actual nurses at the Baylor College of Medicine at Friendship West Baptist Church. So if you go in the hospital, you're going to see them too.
Facts. Now, this is a common story, all too common story, unfortunately, where in any type of like community setting, you do a blood pressure checks and you notice someone has like a 220 over 100 blood pressure. And you say to yourself, this could be an actual crisis. And this actually serves as a point for us to intervene effectively. And I honestly, I get really worried when I see people and they look completely normal and their blood pressure is sky high. You're like, wait, that means you've been living like this for maybe 6 to 8 months to 2-3 years. And what does that say for your kidneys? What does that say for those small vessels in your fingers and your toes where you start to feel numb in the middle of the night? Like, all of these different things are related. And so I'm always on the hunt to tell people, like, we just got to know the number, just like you got to know your credit score, just like you have to understand how much money's in your bank account. This is a part of the basic hygiene of your life and your wellness. And so we should know those numbers like the back of our hand.
Folks, we go to my panel for questions. Today we got 3 brothers here, so let's go right to them. Congo, you first.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for your work, Dr. Brown. My question is, so much attention was paid to Black men and in the election, who they were going to vote for, blah, blah, blah. Indeed. After the election, not so much. In the work that you're doing, are you seeing any mental health consequences of what's going on post-Trump, all the things that are talking about the trade and the tariffs? Are these conversations Black men are having in these spaces, and do you see it affecting their health?
That's an excellent question. I think that you're right on both points. The first one being that first of all, mental health within the Black community, we treat it like, grandmother's couch. You're just supposed to see it. You're not really supposed to like approach it or sit down on it or touch it. It's this thing that we don't really understand well. And so we've done significant work in destigmatizing mental health and making sure that we own the fact that mental wellness is a part of our physical wellness, is a part of our future in general. And so with Black men learning how to work through their feelings, their emotions, the traumas that they experience, absolutely in the fallout of the election, Black men have had increased reports of anxiety, increased concerns, fear, depression, grief, like all of these different emotions. And in spaces that are safe, like barbershops, they're able to navigate these. Now, where I draw the line is sometimes you actually need professional help. You need to have a therapist. You need to have a spiritual counselor, a friend somebody who you can help navigate these, and that gives you tools to truly understand the underpinnings of these emotions. And if you need to be on medication or some type of therapy or a regimen, having a discussion about that with someone who's skilled enough to navigate that with you. But to be 100% honest, I think that there's clearly going to be more like an increase in these emotions and reports, because as men are being more comfortable with sharing, they're also experiencing these traumas at a greater degree.
Larry.
Yeah, Dr. Brown, thank you for all your work. And you talked about one of the things I want to talk about is relating to black men. And Roland has said it's great to have four black men on the panel. Collectively, let's talk about diseases, destigmatizing certain diseases for black men that disproportionately impact black men, like prostate cancer. How do we talk about, addressing these, like I said, the illnesses disproportionately impact black men, and destigmatize what it means to have something like prostate cancer, how to prevent it?
Thank you for bringing that up. Black men are more likely to be diagnosed with and die from prostate cancer than their white counterparts. And I want to really want people to hear that. By the time that it's caught, by the time it's diagnosed, we have shorter life expectancies in general. And that now progresses those issues. The destigmatization of talking about prostate cancer and understanding prostate cancer has been like a lifelong challenge for a lot of primary care physicians who are tasked with making sure that men hit these specific surveillance markers. We don't have a ton of urologists. We don't have a ton of black urologists and black oncologists. And so now you're fighting against the identity element, where someone who might have a father who's black and has had this conversation before, or seen a family member, a grandfather, go through prostate cancer, can relate in the dialogue to get someone to the point where they want to be tested regularly, and also educate them about these things. What we've done to try to lower that barrier, that threshold, is make sure that they understand it's not the way that you once heard of it. Digital rectal exams have changed completely. The fact that we can do PSA tests, the fact that we can talk about different markers in the bloodstream that can help get early detection, that has changed the narrative a little bit. And then finally, making it popular, telling people like, hey, it's not just about, whether or not you're more savvy than the next man, but we really have to be there. We have to be here for children. We have to be here for grandchildren. And part of that means taking this one element extremely seriously.
Michael.
Dr. Brown, what are some of the most important tests that African-American men should have once a year, twice a year, whether it's being tested for diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease? We talked about the blood pressure, things like this, as well as prostate cancer. What are some of those different types of tests that we should focus in on?
Certainly. I mean, this changes by age range, but in general, I tell everyone that they should know their basic numbers. Like your blood pressure is one thing that's very easy to access, so to speak, and you can know that and see what your ranges are. But your blood sugar range, your cholesterol, these numbers are all proxy indicators of general health. And if you have a concomitant medical issue, they're going to look at those numbers to figure out how much at risk you are for disease worsening, the disease progress worsening, and mortality. The other things that I think about are like colonoscopies. Brothers are not getting colonoscopies at the way that we should. We watched Chadwick Boseman die in his early 40s. And this is a brother who had more resources than all three of us on this phone combined in terms of having access to education, having access to financial resources, could get the best doctors, and it didn't change his outcome. So we need to have other people talking about this and encouraging brothers to get early screening. And if you have a first-degree relative that has colon cancer, that changes the entire equation for you. You should be getting screened a lot earlier than the numbers that we see, the 45 age range, the 42 age range that most people will talk about. Then we talk about prostate health. getting that PSA, making sure that antigen is being tested at the appropriate age range when the risk factors start to be there. But I think that it's also important for us to kind of step outside the box and look at things that are not specifically numbers. Like, how often are you checking in with somebody about your mental health? Do you have conversations about what it feels like to be anxious, what it feels like to have depression or go through grief? Because there's no clear number for this, but we can see all of those different systems affected by someone's desire to be around, desire to work out, desire to eat healthy. That's all changed when you take into those 3 or 4 things into factor as well.
All right, then.
Thank you.
Doc, if folks want to get more information, where should they go?
On social medias, I'm at Great Vision, GR8 Vision. I'm happy to answer questions. And again, thank you all so much for having me. Brother, you know what it is. Alpha Phi Alpha all day.
All day, every day. Larry understands that. Poor little Michael, he doesn't.
I had to let him know.
Hey, we got doctors too. Blue Phi, we got doctors as well.
Michael, you know this. Michael, you know this. And see, here's the crazy thing, Mike. I didn't even know he was frat. Every time we turn around, we gonna have doctors and entrepreneurs. We gonna have legal people, whatever. And it's like a consistent thing. They ended with
by the odds alone.
They ended with throwing the ice. So I mean, y'all just need to go ahead and accept you little poor little sigmas, you little incompetent kappas, and you prison-loving omegas. Y'all can't be near us. Sorry. Doc, we appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Shout out to Fort Valley State. I'm rocking their gear today on the show, so let me go ahead and stand up. So, again, Fort Valley State, appreciate y'all sending me the swag, so I'm rocking the show, rocking the shirt. Thanks, that's it, folks. Let me thank Michael, Larry, and Omikongo. I appreciate it. Tomorrow we'll pay tribute to one half of Yarborough and Peoples, and we'll talk about the passing of Mr. Yarbrough himself. Folks, that's it. Let me also thank all of y'all for watching our coverage earlier today of Moral Monday DC. If you missed it, we're going to be restreaming it. You can also check it out on our YouTube channel or Black Star Network app. And speaking of that, you want to support the work that we do, please join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do the work that we do. You want to contribute via Cash App. This is the QR code right here. Click the Cash App button and continue to contribute. Check some money orders, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, and P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. Of course, we want you to get our swag. That's right. You can get our shirts, merchandise, our shirts right there. And go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. If you ordered product and you have not received it, send us an email so we can help expedite that. And of course, we also want you to support our Black-owned companies through shopblackstarnetwork.com. You see their products on display right here on my set, but you can also go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Also, we want you to download the app Fanbase. And if you want to support them in their Series A fundraise, you can go there to go to starengine.com/Fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. And let your senator know how you feel about that big, ugly bill. Call them now. Whether they are Democrat or Republican does not matter. Does not matter. Say it again. Oh, gotcha. All right, folks, I got to go. I'll see you tomorrow. Holla! Time for Truth Talks.